Good morning. Yeah, the decision means that Judge Cahill can reinstate that third-degree murder charge like the prosecution wants, but he could also find a new reason to keep it out. But if he does re-add it, that would most likely mean this trial won't be delayed and can continue without the concern of these appeals issues. Another big development, we now know the three other former MPD officers charged in George Floyd's death will not be testifying in Chauvin's trial. Here's Chauvin's attorney, Eric Nelson.
I confirmed with each of the attorneys last night that they are not permitting their clients to testify in this trial.
Those other three officers are scheduled to stand trial together in August. They have a Fifth Amendment right not to self-incriminate by testifying during Chauvin's trial. And because it appears that they will not be doing that, that eliminates the possibility that one of them would turn on Chauvin during his trial. Again, though, this morning, the big thing we're going to be looking for when court resumes at 8 a.m. is whether Judge Cahill makes a decision about that third-degree murder charge.
Yeah, and we'll be covering that live as well. Jennifer, thank you.